It's great to see you all. I'm so excited to be here today. Are you guys having fun so far? Woo! All right, we are going to have a lot of fun. These next 45 minutes, I get to talk about my passion and what excites me and what lights me up, and I hope it lights you up too, and I think it will. So before I dive in, I'm just curious, we're going to be talking a lot about media placements and pitching the media and nailing down your message. Raise your hand if you have appeared in the media. Good. Awesome. Okay. And raise your hand if you haven't, but you want to. I'm assuming if you haven't, you want to. That's why you're here. Okay, great. So you can definitely do it. This is what I teach people. It's possible. So today our workshop is going to be broken up into two parts. The first, we're going to focus on mastering your message to the media and making sure that it's succinct, clear, simple, so that anyone can understand it. And more importantly, so that when you get placed in the media, people remember you. And that starts with your message. That's really important. The next part, the next part is the really fun part for me. I'm going to take you inside a newsroom. I've worked in newsrooms for nearly a decade, and I'm going to teach you how to pitch the media with my journalist brain in mind. Does that all sound good? Yeah. Okay, great. So let's get started. I want to tell you a little bit about myself first. What makes me the expert here? So I was a network news producer for CBS News, The Early Show. I spent 4 years at The Early Show in New York City. I traveled the country covering breaking news. From there, I was a senior booker and producer for energyNOW, a show that was nationally syndicated on Bloomberg, and I also anchored their news cut-ins on occasion. I traveled the country producing breaking news stories that pertain to a very complicated subject, which was energy and the environment, covering nuclear energy, coal-fired power plants, solar energy. But I loved it. It was so much fun. And I've also been a producer for the Washington Post Live. So I founded my company in 2015. I started doing publicity around, I would say, 2012, 2013. And I founded Nardi Media in 2015 with a mission in mind to get people placed in the media. I found that when I became a publicist, I had an edge, and my edge was that I understood the inner workings of a newsroom. I knew what it took. I knew how to speak to producers. I knew how to pitch reporters. I knew when to call them, what time to call them. I knew how to email them, how to talk to them. And I found that I was getting a lot of amazing bookings for people, such as The Today Show, MSNBC. Here's just a sampling. The New York Times, The Washington Post, USA Today, AP, NPR, you name it. My clients have pretty much been on almost every single top-tier media outlet since I've launched my company. So today, I'm going to teach you how to do the same. It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, in addition to that, I'm also in front of the camera on occasion as well. I have been booked on WJLA several times to talk about mom life on Good Morning Mama's segment, but I also have my company, Nardi Media. I've been on TV to talk about charity work that we do. So not only have I been behind the camera, I've been on the camera, and I help people get on camera and placed in the media. So that's just so you have a little bit of information about my background. So it's important that we start with why media placements matter. Because obviously you're here, you know they matter. But I want to give you a couple examples from a publicist as to why I know they matter. First is you gain exposure to a wider audience. This is obviously very important. Even if you get placed on a podcast, I work with many book authors. They'll get placed on a podcast, they end up selling hundreds, sometimes 1,000 books. So they matter. It gets exposure to a wider audience. It builds your credibility. I know a lot of folks here have an idea of launching a company, or maybe you just started. But when you look at your competition, sometimes you see that they might have those logos on their website. Entrepreneur, Inc., Fast Company, As Seen In. That's a credibility builder right there. And you can put those in your media bio. Next, it leverages new opportunities, speaking engagements, book deals, collaborations. 2 examples that I have here. I once had a client appear on national TV in Canada, and he got a phone call the next day to do a speaking engagement somewhere overseas, and it was booked. I mean, it's amazing that that happens. I also work with, my business partner is a literary agent, so I do work with a lot of book authors. She often comes to me and says, I have this great author or this great person with a manuscript, but I can't take him or her to a publisher yet because they haven't done any media. And they, in order to be considered to, a top tier, a big publisher, publishers want to see that you have been in the media. That's a big credibility builder. So I work with a lot of people who haven't gotten any media placements yet. They come to me, we get a ton of media for them, and then my business partner will then shop it to the publisher, and then there's a book deal. So that helps as well. And then, of course, you build meaningful connections with the press. I am day in and day out working with members of the press. But you, as an individual, can do that too. And the more you build your relationship, treat them like a friend, not so much as like a business transaction, but an actual friend, and be a source to stories that they're working on. Even if you're not the one to get booked, they're more likely to remember you. And they'll consider you for the next time. We'll talk more about that. All right, it also informs the public about you and your work, and it inspires people to take action. The inspiring people to take action part is important because that is where we're going to talk about your message. I was working with somebody just last week who said, Ashley, she's a business owner, and she's amazing. And she's like, I have not gotten out in the media yet. I need to, but I'm not clear on my message. When a reporter asks me, so what do you do? She's like, I have no idea what to say. And I said, okay, well, let's hear, like, what's your elevator pitch? And I was like, this isn't going to work for the media. Like, I want to hear your story. I want to hear, like, and I hear a lot of, I want to hear what your mess is, because your mess is your masterpiece. I want to hear your story. What is your story? And that's your message. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We're going to talk about how to master your message. And once we do that, and you're going to have an idea of how to master your message walking out of here today, but I'm giving you homework. I want you to go and work on this when you get home and practice it and refine your message and say it to your partner, your friends, say it to yourself, record your voice saying it, practice it, and get comfortable with it. Okay? You guys ready? All right, so simple communication statement. This is essentially your message. So think about a couple things. What is the story that you're trying to tell? Think about your story. What's the message that you are trying to get across to the public? Or maybe, and when I say your message, this is your message that you're going to relay in a media interview. And make sure it's simple, clear, concise. So keep it simple so that anyone, regardless of age, knowledge of the subject, can understand it. We're all experts on very different subjects. And sometimes when I get really technical in the weeds on journalism or publicity, it could be like when I'm talking to my husband, his eyes glaze over and he's like, no. So I want you to remember that. Like, practice your message to your partner. And if it doesn't make sense to them, it's not going to make sense to anyone else. I guarantee it. All right, so powerful messages have three important attributes. They're positive in tone and content. They eliminate all negative words. Even the word no is negative. Even if you use the word no when you're answering a question about yourself or your business or what you do, that's negative, and it can elicit negative follow-up questions. Something like, I don't know. That's negative too. Any negative language, eliminate from your simple communication statement. It doesn't exceed 150 words. I would even like to see it shorter. 150 words is about 1 minute. I would love to see it about 30 to 45 seconds. Now remember, if you're doing TV, 1 minute is way too long for your message, so you have to condense that down. The average soundbite is 14 seconds long. 14 seconds long. When you're in a live TV interview, we'll get more into this, you have a little bit more control of that, but a taped soundbite is 14 seconds long. And then the next, and this is what I think is the most important, is that your message tells a story. It's a story. It's not so much, I founded my company because da-da-da-da. No, I want to hear, here's an example for me. I'm a former network news producer. I spent nearly a decade covering breaking news stories. I know exactly what it takes to get people placed in the media, and that's why I found my company, Nardi Media, in 2015. Something simple, clear, concise like that, but also has a story. You know a little bit about my background in just those 10 seconds. Cool? Everybody good so far? Okay. So,
excuse me.
Yes.
Can you say just the last sentence again, please?
Okay, which last sentence?
Where you're
former network news producer. Just my 10-second. Okay. So, I'm a former network news producer. I spent nearly a decade covering breaking news stories, traveling the whole world covering breaking news stories. So I know exactly what it takes to get people placed in the media. And that's why I founded my company, Nardi Media, in 2015. Does that help?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, so we're going to talk about language and the power of words. Power of words. Power words. Okay, so power words. These are my favorite. Starting with power words help you move a conversation forward in a constructive way, in a powerful way. So take a look at this list here. See what resonates with you. I'm going to give you guys a couple examples. It's important to me that I'm motivated to do my publicity work because I have developed, I think it's necessary to do publicity outreach for my clients. Do you see how these words are powerful? It drives you towards your message, away from, let's say you're asked a question in an interview setting that you might not know the answer to, or that's off topic from your message. You use something like power words to go right back to your message. I'm fascinated by publicity, and I'm so excited to be here sharing my message with you guys today. Boom, I go right back to my message. You can use power words to start your message too. When someone asks you, what do? You can say, I am so motivated to get publicity for everyone here today. I'm excited about it. Using words like power words gets people excited. They're also really positive too. And when you use positive words, you're more likely to be remembered. Okay? Good? Everybody following so far? Yes? Okay. All right, so negative language versus positive language is so important, and I'm going to drill down on this. When you use a negative phrase like no or I don't know, it will elicit negative follow-up questions. When I was a journalist, I would say, no, what do you mean no? Do you not know? Or it would just open up the rabbit hole to go down, and then you get completely off topic. So if you can find equivalence to the word, instead of the word no, like what's something else you could say? Use a power word, go right back to your message. But when you use positive phrases and you're in a message in particular, you're essentially managing questions that you're being asked. You're keeping it positive. And you can try that in your message, but I always say try that in your personal life and in your professional life. Just eliminate negative words in general, and a lot's going to change. Yeah? Okay. All right, so a couple other really important attributes for building a powerful message. Of course, your simple communication statement. Your the structure of a good answer. It's the structure of your message. But a couple other ingredients make this up. One is your credibility. This is your reputation and how believable you are. So maybe you have specific credentials in what you're doing. If you're a health or wellness expert. For me, my credibility is my background in TV as a journalist. So I always like to say that in my message. And even when I'm on, it's not even just my message when I'm in the media, but this is what I use when I'm on sales calls as well. I'm a former network news producer. This is what gives me the edge in publicity. This is why you should hire me. All right, so it's also how meaningfully you can answer questions. As a journalist, when I'm speaking to, let's say, experts, and if we're doing a science story, I would want to make sure that I was speaking to a P or an MD. So again, that's your credibility. Your educational background is your credibility as well. Empathy, being able to understand another situation. This makes you a lot more human, less robotic. So for example, if I'm going to do this, I could say something like, I understand how hard it is to get placed in the media. I get it. It is hard because this is all I do every day. You don't just pick up the phone and get booked. You don't just send one email and get placed in the media. I understand how hard this can be. I know how hard you've been working to try to get yourself placed in the media. Do you see what I mean by being empathetic? It makes you more relatable. So think about that when formulating your message as well. Okay, being specific, being meaningfully specific. Give examples. So why do we want to hear telling a story, and we'll get more into this. People want to hear the outcome of stories. All stories have a lesson, they have a moral. So by being specific and giving an example, I'm listening to you. I want to know what the outcome of this story is going to be. So if you're not sure where to start, I say pick one thing that you're proud of and give an example of that. Think of something that you're proud of that you do for yourself within your own company. And maybe it's not even the company that you started yet. Maybe it's that you're a mom. I am proud because I'm an awesome mom. So start there. Okay, cool? Everybody following so far? Good. Okay. So a couple other things to building a powerful message. Negative words eliminated. We already talked about that. Power words. I love using power words. I'm excited about, I'm fascinated by, I'm motivated to, I've demonstrated that. Power words. help move a conversation forward in a constructive way. Then positive words. Please use positive words in your message. Try it. Try it in your daily life. Try it today. Try today when you walk away from here. Try not to use any word, even the word no. And tell me how it is. Email me. I want to hear about it. Okay. Couple other things. Simple language. You could be an expert on a very complicated subject. We live in the DC area. There are a ton of acronyms. Nobody knows what they mean. No one. The general public has no idea. So stay away from acronyms. Keep your language simple. I always like to say so simple that an 8th grader can understand it. Okay? And then, of course, telling a story, and this kind of relates back to being meaningfully specific, but this makes you more relatable, and I want to hear the outcome of your story. They're understandable, and they're useful. Okay, so with all this in mind, I have a couple examples here. My clients, a lot of them are book authors. So I'm just going to read this one to you, and I'm just going to stop and just show you some examples. So I wrote Going Beyond Mom. She mentioned the name of her book in her message. I want you to always mention the name of your company or your work or your expertise in your message. I work with so many book authors who I'm like, okay, tell me what you think your message is. All right, let's do a mock interview. They don't mention their book once. So think about like how many times have you mentioned your company? It's okay. Repetition is the key to retention. Like you don't want to do it a million times, but once or twice, definitely in your message. I wrote Going Beyond Mom to initiate a movement of mothers, power words, what I call beyond moms, who are building their lives finally with the right tools behind them. So many women experience a new sense of self, also born with baby, and this book gives tips and tools to embrace the change instead of resisting it. There's some examples there. I think so many moms skip this part. Empathy. Empathy. This is why they suffer. Once you befriended the new you, you'll have the foundation to fully step forward in the next phase of your life. Next one. I really like this one. This woman wrote a book about sex. And she wrote a really powerful message. So she said, I wrote Sex Without Stress to bring hope and transformation to all the couples who are in good relationships but are suffering in their sex lives. So I'm like, okay, this could be relatable. It's totally normal to struggle in your sex life. Empathy, empathy. And because of that point, you are going to run into common obstacles, and she lists them. Those are examples right there. By changing the way you think about intimacy and relationships and by working through my 9-phase process, you can transform your sex life. That's motivating and inspiring. When your sex life is working, your whole relationship is going to work better. All right, so everyone, you see a handout here. I hope everybody has a handout. It's called your simple communication statement. You guys have one? Do you need one? I'll come and get you one. All right, so I want you to think about your main message. What is the message that you are trying to get across to anyone in a media interview? If you are prepping for an interview with a member of the press, what is the one message that you want to get across? So based off everything that I just told you, and I know this was a lot of information, I don't expect you to nail this down today, but I want you to take a stab at it. I want you to try. So the first step one, write your simple communication statement. The language that you're going to use. This is your message. Use power words. Use positive language. I'm motivated. I'm excited. I'm fascinated. And use your credibility, empathy, positive language, power words. So next down here, and I don't think we'll have time to do this today, but after your simple communication statement, you'll see 3 things, topics. What are some topics that you love to speak to? Write those down. Like based off your expertise, what are your topics? This could be brought up in an interview. Next to that topic, give an example of the topic. Examples are where people are going to remember you. Those are your stories. That's where I'm going to remember you, from the stories. You guys will probably remember me more for the stories that I tell today than the expertise that's given right now. And I'm going to tell more stories and give more examples. Okay, so as you guys are writing, you can keep writing and listening. We can multitask. We're entrepreneurs. That's what we do. After you get your message, practice it. And I mentioned this, but it is so important to practice your message. You can't just write this on a piece of paper, right? I've got it. I'm good. I'm walking into that interview. I've got this. Absolutely not. No. Never, ever, ever wing an interview. You practice, record yourself on your phone. Practice with your partner. Practice with your kids. When I'm on my way to a TV interview, I am practicing out loud in the car. I was practicing my presentation yesterday at the bus stop. My kids thought I was crazy. So practice. Record yourself saying your message, edit your message, self-coach yourself. I guarantee you, you will come up with something that you love and that you're so proud of. So when you do walk into a media interview, or even if someone asks you what you do, what do you do? Tell me about what you do. I am motivated. I am excited. You're getting me excited. Okay? Good. How's everybody feeling? Good? Yeah? Okay. All right. So let's get to, this is the fun part. Let's get to pitching the media. I am so excited about this. All right, so there's a couple things I always like to tell people to have ready before you get out and start pitching yourself to the media. Your bio and your headshot, particularly important for, let's say, print online interviews, but even TV, radio, because sometimes they'll promote it online ahead of time, or they'll put the interview up on the website afterwards, or they'll have an article to go along with your TV interview. I mean, it could be anything. The thing about the media these days is that there's so many verticals that you can cross-promote on different channels, so you want to have all these ready. Bio, headshot, your logo, elements to support your pitch. We're going to get into the meat of these. Visuals for TV all day long, but photos, video, B-roll. This is video such as background video, not video of me speaking at a podium. It's video of people walking down the street, if there are kids eating in the cafeteria, if we're doing a story on school lunches. That's B-roll. And then interviews. If you have links to prior press coverage, particularly national TV producers and some local TV producers are going to want to see this. So have that ready. Then your schedule. So anyone here who knows who's been on TV? Okay. You guys know what it's like. Sometimes you can't plan. They'll say, hey, are you available tomorrow at 7 a.m.? And if you don't get back to them in a timely manner, like you take all day and it's 5 o'clock, you're like, yep, I lined up my daycare, I can make it. They already found somebody else. So you have to be ready to drop everything, or at least say, let me check, I'll get back to you. What's my deadline? An hour, I've got it. So be fluid and flexible. All right, and then your social media handles, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and your updated website. So more so now than ever, and especially in the past couple of years, producers and reporters and editors are looking at your social media numbers. They want to see how engaged you are, how many followers you have, are you regularly posting? They're looking at that. And I met with, 2 weeks ago, I met with the books producer of Good Morning America, and I asked her, I'm like, well, how many social media followers do you need to have? And she's like, well, I don't know, but she said 1 million. And I was like, whew, okay. That's not a prerequisite, but they are looking at that. So social media does play a big factor in this now more than ever. All right, so let's take you inside the newsroom. I want you to get thinking like a journalist. How you think and how a journalist thinks, two very, very different things. We think, what's my message? What's my passion? What's my purpose? How can I reach my audience? How can I tell my story? Journalists don't think like that at all. Maybe in their personal lives they do, but in their professional lives, they are not thinking about that at all. They say, there's two sides to every story. What are those? What's the other side? What are the visuals? Especially TV producers. What am I going to see? I don't just want a talking head in the seat. I want to know what I'm going to see. Are there going to be props? Is there going to be a demo? Are going to be doing yoga? Like, what's going on? They want visuals, demos, props, photos, B-roll. Struggle. What's the struggle? What's the confrontation? What's the controversy here? There's two sides to every story. I've got one expert saying one thing, but what about the other side? When I was a booking producer for my show on energyNOW, I was tasked with booking sometimes 4-5 guests on a panel discussion for national TV. I had to find 4 different opinions on a certain energy topic. That meant I had to spend hours and hours on the phone finding 4 different opinions on one single energy topic. And there were always many different opinions. But just to show you that just because you have one opinion doesn't mean somebody else isn't. And I might look for that other opinion and put you up on TV with those 2 people. All right, so also, what does my audience want to know? Why do they care? When I was a producer, I loved this. My executive producer, when we were doing energy news, he would always say, he would challenge us to say, okay, like, we are producing such a complicated subject. Like, energy and environmental news I felt like I went to school for 4 years, like, learning about energy and environmental news. But because it was on Bloomberg, it was mostly a general audience, like a lot of like business audience, but we wanted to reach a general audience. The show also aired on WJLA here in DC. So we were tasked with the question, why does my audience care? Why does the general public care about this nuclear power plant that's going up in Southwest Virginia? And I would try to make, and we were tasked with this. And that was a challenge, but I want you to think about this. Why would the general public care? And if you're not sure where to start when you're writing your pitch, ask your friends. Like my husband is a great example. I will sometimes write a pitch, and if I've been in like writing mode and I need to step out, I read it to him, and he's like, that doesn't make sense. I don't understand what you're saying. And I'm like, thank you. I needed to hear that because I want to make sure you can understand it. Okay, and then ratings. Ratings are always key. So when I first started my career at CBS News, I would look at the ratings, and I would see that at 7:32 a.m., the segment with the flying squirrel did a lot better than the segment with the presidential candidate at 7:16 a.m. And we look at ratings. So that's just how producers are thinking. All right, so another thing that we're seeing a lot of these days are paid media versus earned media. And I have people come to me and they say, hey, I've got this paid media or this paid opportunity. They want me to pay $5,000 for them to be on TV. No, we are not talking about that today. It is 100% possible for you to get earned media, meaning you should not have to pay a dime to get placed in the media. I want you to get organic media placements, and that's what we call earned media. You do not need, and sometimes these paid placements are great opportunities for collaboration, but that goes more towards advertising. That is not what I do in terms of publicity. And I have never once had a client pay for a media opportunity. And if they come to me, I say no. If you want to spend your advertising dollars on that, absolutely. But you hired me to get you earned placements, and that's what we're going to do. Good? Everybody good so far? Okay, great. All right, so I want to break down the differences in coverage styles. I'm going to have to breeze through this. All right, so I'm going to start with TV because given my background in TV, I obviously have a special place in my heart for it. So several different ways that you can appear on TV. Live and studio interviews. Those are so great. Who here is from the DC region? So many of you. Okay, so there are 4 network affiliates here, plus News Channel 8. All of them take in-studio guests. All of them. I've worked with every single one of them multiple times. Great opportunities for you. And I know a lot of people here who have been on TV to take your message locally here. A live shot interview as well. I've had reporters come and cover live events, be it a food drive. If you have an event that's very visual, then reporters will come and cover and do live shots. You can do taped in studio interviews, panel roundtable interviews. I see that more on a national level. I've actually, what am I talking about? Good Morning Mamas is another great example. I do panel roundtable interviews here for Good Morning Mamas. On-site taped interviews, that's say we're going to like a high school football game and taping the story there, and that's a taped on-site interview, or a taped as live interview, meaning it's taped to look like it's live. We call it a look live, and I don't see a lot of those anymore, but we do. I have seen them, but yes. So these are all the different coverage styles for TV. But what's even more important are what are these producers looking for? So a couple weeks ago, I got curious. I was like, okay, I've been out of the game for a while. I mean, I've been out of the producing game. I miss it. I want to know, has it changed at all? Are people still looking for the same types of stories, or types of guests? So I asked a bunch of my producer friends, what do you look for when considering a guest for your segment or show? This is hot off the press. All right, my friend Kyle, you know Kyle. A bunch of us know Kyle. He said he's looking for energetic, engaging, and informative. I highlighted what's important here because this is a lot of words. Visuals and what will supplement an interview and its talking points. So when you're thinking of placing yourself on TV, I want you to think visually. I don't want you to just think that you yourself, the expert, will be enough. You probably have an amazing expertise and background, but we need more. TV needs more. I want to know, maybe there's props. Maybe there's a demo. I once did on WUSA, my client did what was the story? Yoga at your desk. And we brought 2 desks on set at WUSA, and she did yoga at her desk with an anchor. That's an example there. So, okay, here's another one. This is a national network news producer. He said anyone who has either done a study or can speak to a study, that's important. Analyzing consumer trends. Here's an example. Yesterday or 2 days ago, AAA just came out with their holiday travel report, and they found that 54 million Americans are going to be traveling 50 miles or more for the Thanksgiving holiday. Guess what? I had an expert who can talk about that. And I have him booked on 3 radio interviews to talk about it this week. So that's just an example of analyzing consumer trends, using studies to pitch yourself. Avoid guests who are pitching a product. That's tough. What if you do have a product? Does anyone here have a product? Okay, that's okay. Guess what? I pitch book authors all day long. Their product is their book. What we lead with is their expertise. I even have had a book author here locally here in DC who we were like, okay, so let's do a mom self-care gift guide for Mother's Day. And so we came up with a bunch of really cool and unique Mother's Day gift products, and then we slid her book right in there. That was awesome. Okay. So a couple others. Know who you're pitching. This is important. Know the market that you're pitching, but also know who you're pitching. Are you pitching the producer, the segment producer, the assignment editor, the anchor? We're going to get more into that, but know who you're pitching. And then get the details on the demographics. That can help you target your pitch. You don't want to talk about your service in your pitch. You want to talk about your expertise. So let's say, what kind of service would we have? Let's say I had, I have a client who's a decluttering expert. She has a service. I'm going to mention her in a little bit. But she's an expert. Her service is she goes in and she cleans and organizes home. That's her service. But her expertise is that she's a decluttering expert. So you pitch your expertise. All right, so another one is engaging, informative, and interact well with the anchor, my friend at MSNBC. And then a booking producer for a national lifestyle. This is a big show, national lifestyle TV show. She says, give our viewers knowledge and tips that they wouldn't get anywhere else. So just think about this. We don't want to think like, okay, we're doing like holiday travel financial tips. Like, what do you need to do? Like, it's very obvious what you need to do to travel before the holidays to make sure your finances are safe. But what are some edgy, different tips? That's what producers are looking for. All right, so common themes that we see here. Engaging and enthusiastic. Know the audience, local versus national. Make it visual, props, demos, B-roll, photos, and offer actionable tips. And number one question I get asked by national TV producers, anybody have an idea? I would love to hear. What do you think is the number one question I get asked by national TV producers? Anyone? Here we go. Can you send me video of them in an interview setting? So your roadmap to getting on national TV actually starts locally. They want to see you in an interview setting before considering you for a national TV placement. It is the number one question I get asked without fail. And I even know now not to even pitch them unless they have video in an interview setting. This means that it's not video me speaking like this. This video is not going to work. Nope. It needs to be video of me in an interview setting. Okay, so here's what it is. Yep, video of you in an interview setting. And if you don't have that, that's okay. I don't expect you guys to have this. I work with so many people who have never been pitched, and I help them get on their road to national TV. We start locally. Locally doesn't mean just the DC area, though. Locally means you can be pitched literally where you went to school. Where are you visiting for the holidays? Are you going to be home in Seattle even if you're in the DC area? You could pitch Seattle. Where do you have personal ties? We'll get more into that. I'm going to have to fly through these, though. Okay, radio coverage style is very similar for TV. And then print online. This is fun. There's several opportunities for you to be featured in print or online. It could be a feature piece about you or your business. You could be quoted or commented in an article. I do this all day long with various editors who come to me and say, hey, I'm working on a story about the Royals. Do you have any experts who can weigh in on like the people's obsession with the Royals? And I say, yeah, of course. I'm happy to help you. So using your comments on a particular article and your expertise, and then in turn, you get a mention of your business. You don't always get a hyperlink to your business. They don't always do that because they don't want to make it too commercial, but you still get a mention of your business or your book. I've seen Q&A interviews, and then, of course, a mention of you and your business. All right, so path to media placements. Where to start? Start locally. Sell your expertise. Not your book, not your company, not your product, your expertise. Write down, and it could be maybe a couple different things. It might not just be one thing. You might not just be a decluttering expert. You could be a couple different things, but know your expertise, write it down, get confident in it. know your audience, refine your message, practice that message that we worked on in the beginning here. Find your news peg. You can't just pitch without a news peg. What does a news peg mean? That means I need some urgency. It's a news organization. I need the urgency. Why am I going to be telling this story about you right now? Was there a new study that came out? Is there a new holiday? Is there National Women's in Business Day? Yes, there is. And Karen, you've been booked for that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, just to show there is a holiday for everyone. We'll get more into that. So then you write your pitch and then ask yourself, why would your audience care about this? Why does my audience care? And then, of course, make sure you're available in the city that you're being pitched. I always have to add that because when I was a national TV producer and someone would pitch me and be like, and I would say, yeah, when are they available? Oh, they're out of the country for 2 weeks. I'm serious. This happened to me many times as a producer. I'd be like, why are you pitching me then? All right, so be the expert. Think about your expertise, and remember, the pitch is less about you and more about what you can offer the audience. Look at the calendar. Holidays. Like I said here, National Women in Business Day. There's National Get Organized Day. There is literally a holiday and an awareness month for everyone. I think November is actually National Entrepreneurs Month. And yeah, Small Business Saturday. So these are your news pegs. Find your news hook. So I have you see the link, nationalcalendar.com here. All right, do your research for print online. Research the reporter with his or her specific beat. I have found that print online reporters, they can be very specific. There's environmental reporters. There's book editors. There are so many. So make sure you research them. Follow them on social media. It's a great way to engage. Read or watch the coverage on the media outlet. Research the audience and demographic of the media outlet, and make sure the pitch is make sure the topic being pitched is relevant and timely. All right, so start local. Make a list of all those cities. If you do a Google search for designated market areas map, you'll see a map of like the whole United States. And if let's say like you're from small town Illinois, but you're not sure what DMA you fall under, if you go to this map, you'll say, oh, I'm in the Chicago DMA, and I had no idea. Okay, great, so I can pitch Chicago. Identify media outlets in each city where you have a connection. And there's a link here. If you just Google Station Index TV markets, you can see which TV markets are in the city that you're being pitched, or that you're pitching yourself. All right, so who to pitch? There's several different people who to pitch. If you have an event that you want a news crew to come and cover, you pitch the assignment desk. Producers, executive producers usually decide guest coverage. Anchors and reporters sometimes do that. They're mostly assigned assignments from a producer, executive producer, or assignment editor. Print online, reporter. Again, research the beat. Business reporter. There's entrepreneur reporters. Research what they're covering. There's also editors and web producers and editors. Here's a great example. I have a friend at Family Circle magazine. She's the health director there. And I pitched her a story. And she's like, you know what, this isn't going to be a fit for me, but let me see if we can get this online. So she connected me to the Family Circle web editor, and we got the story up online. That's amazing. That's FamilyCircle.com. So if you are, like, let's say you get a pass from a major magazine, ask about the web component. You'd love to help them. They're always looking for content. All right, how to master your pitch. Short and sweet. Make sure it is short and sweet. Has relevance to the news cycle. It's localized when relevant. You have talking points, your visuals, it's relatable, and know who you're pitching. All right, what does newsworthy mean? What does that mean? The news peg. Hard news means fires, death, destruction. That's always politics. It's always going to take precedence over what would be an evergreen story. There's less of an urgency, but more topical, meaning that it can air anytime. It can be published at any time. There's also trending topics. I'm seeing so many trending topics, particularly for like print online. They love that. Search data and statistics. So think about the expertise you offer, and then look and see what new data and statistics are out there. Studies show that 71% of people are stressed during the holiday season. I mean, just that, I know that off the top of my head because I'm pitching it right now. But just something like that. All right, and then for TV, the more visual you can make it, the more newsworthy it is. We talked about getting visual. Visual, visual, visual. TV, visual. All right, here is an example of an email pitch. You might want, this is really helpful. I've given this to a lot of people and they've successfully booked themselves on TV, so take a picture of it. So catchy, buzzy subject line plus expert interview available. Sometimes I say in-studio interview available. I have a timely in-studio interview in city, Washington, D.C. with something expert and who can weigh in on whatever story. All right, and then go into statistics or data to support the pitch. 71% of people are stressed out over the holidays. And I have mindfulness expert who can come in studio with props, demo, whatever, and include your talking points there. And then would you like to schedule an interview? Look forward to hearing from you. But guess what? You can't send an email and expect to get picked up. No, it's not going to happen. You have to send multiple follow-up emails, multiple phone calls. You have to be what I like to call pleasantly persistent. All right. Here's another one. Okay, so should your spouse be your best friend? Friendship Day is August 5th. Relationship expert available for interviews. It worked because it was relevant and timely. The guest that I booked was credible on the subject. It was localized to the city. She was in Los Angeles. It lists the details, and it provides an offering solution to the problem. I had her booked on KTLA, top 5 DMA in the United States for National Friendship Day. Here's another one. Warning, 4 summertime risks to your credit score. In-studio interview with the money coach. Same pitch format. Look at all these places we had her booked on TV. Now, she was willing to travel. And that was, I mean, like, she was like, I will go anywhere. And so I was like, let's do this. And all these places. So national TV in addition to several local TV interviews. So I have a couple examples here, but I don't know if we can share the presentation afterwards or.
See if I can make that happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, so I have several examples. And then quickly, I just want to talk about op-eds and byline articles. So 2 examples that I'm going to share are, let's say you want to get a piece in Entrepreneur. That would be awesome for everyone here because we're all business owners. So I've helped several clients get placed in Entrepreneur, Mind, Body, Green, many Washington Post, many op-eds. So I don't always like to send the full draft. Don't send an attachment ever. They'll delete it. They'll just copy and paste it in an email. What I have found works really well is send a suggested headline and give a paragraph synopsis of what the article would be about. So here's an example. Hey, name, whatever name you are. Okay, hope you're well. Wanted to run an article idea by you with my client. Let me know if you'd be interested in seeing a draft of the following. Suggested headline. My dad's company fell into my lap when he died suddenly. Here's what I learned about my own business, and then a paragraph synopsis of what that is about. And she was booked on, this article was placed in Entrepreneur. Same for Mind, Body, Green. Different format style, though. This one works as well. I'm thrilled to introduce you to decluttering expert Tracy McClellan, who would love to be considered to contribute to Mind, Body, Green. I gave a little bit of paragraph, maybe 2 sentences about what she does. I would love to explore opportunities to have Tracy contribute articles for Mind, Body, Green. Some of her ideas include bullet points. And guess what? She has contributed so many articles. She's a regular contributor to Mind, Body, Green now. So short, concise, suggested headline, paragraph synopsis, or bullet points work. Keep it short. Last things, follow up. Pick up the phone when you are pitching the media. I have so many people come to me like, oh, I sent all the emails out. I'm just waiting. No one is going to call. No one is going to email you back. I guarantee it. It takes multiple emails because oh my gosh, when I was a producer, I would get hundreds of pitch emails a day. I can't even imagine what it is like now. I can't even imagine. So you have to pick up the phone, call them, get them on the phone, be pleasantly persistent. And if they don't respond after like 3 times, you can let it go and then pitch them again with a new pitch later. And then no. No doesn't always mean no. It just means no, not right now. Not right now. Refine your pitch, come up with a new pitch them again. All right, so I think we're out of time. Unfortunately, I'm so bummed. This has been so much fun. But I would love to hear from you guys. So share your success with me. This is my contact information. I'd love to hear if you start pitching yourself. Please do. You can absolutely do it. I guarantee you, you can get earned media. And I can't wait to hear about your success. So thank you so much. This has been so much fun.